Have you ever
that
been to the
Israel
West
has
Bank?
a right to exist. I've been to Jerusalem.
Have you
Israel
been to the
has
West
a
Bank?
right.
Democratic Congressman Jamaal Bowman did a fantastic job debating Republican Congressman Mike Lawler on the issue of Israel and Gaza. So I am going to play for you this very lively exchange between the two, and then I'll get to some information, including Mike Lawler. Mike Lawler here. He discusses his trip that he had to Israel. I'm going to give you a little more context for that trip and what it actually tells us. But here is this exchange, and just watch the fantastic job here that Jamaal Bowman does.
You called Israel, you said what Israel is doing defending itself, you said they're committing a genocide in Gaza. Is that what you believe?
Do you believe, as some of your colleagues have said, what Israel is doing in Gaza is a genocide?
It is a mass murder. It is a war crime. What is happening in Gaza right now? You talk about Hamas having control over the Palestinians in Gaza. There has been a blockade of Gaza for several years. The people in Gaza cannot leave one way or the other. The water, the food, the energy is controlled by Israel. So do not say one side of it, Hamas is controlling its own people, and I agree with you, the people of Gaza do not want that, without leaving out the Israel blockade. And then why don't you ever speak about the occupation of the West Bank and settlement expansion in the West Bank in the number of 700,000 settlers right now? Do you support a two-state solution?
Look, I would.
Do you support a two-state solution?
I would love to see a two-state solution, which is why I introduced the special envoy for the Abraham Accords.
Have you condemned the occupation?
Which is why I introduced the special envoy for the Abraham Accords. Because if you want to bring peace, if you want a two-state solution, and you want to bring peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis, you need to normalize relations between Arab-majority countries and Israel.
And the
only way you do that is if people accept a simple premise that Israel has a right to exist.
Have you ever been to the West Bank?
Israel has a right to exist. I've been to Jerusalem.
Have you been to the
West
West Bank?
Right to
See,
exist.
we have. This is what happens.
Well,
this is what happens.
What
do
happens?
you mean with all due respect?
Well,
you are speaking with a sense of authority as if you've been there. You have never been to the West Bank. You have never been stopped at a checkpoint.
Right.
You have never spoken to the people in the West Bank, in Hebron, in Ramallah. You haven't seen the water tanks at the top of their homes that they have to preserve just in case Israel cuts off the water, man.
Well,
This is part of why I really appreciate Jamaal Bowman. He not only has the facts, is on the right side, cares about people, he's also a fantastic communicator in his ability to get these points across. So I'm going to back up a lot of what he's saying here, as well as give you a little more insight into Mike Lawler. But first, it bothers me that there's even a debate over what is going on right now, that the CNN anchor there has to question, do you believe there's a genocide going on? I don't know. Let's look at these numbers. Do you believe there's one going on? These are estimated fatalities in Israel and in Gaza since October 7th. Look at the orange. Those are Palestinians. Do you believe there's one going on, Abby Phillips? Do we really have to ask these questions? And this is CNN, same network. How about you just reference your own data? This is New York Times. This is data's a couple weeks old, but it showcases the amount of death and how many women and children are within that number. There is not a debate. There should not be a debate about what is happening right now, about the obvious human mass atrocities that are being committed. There is no debate here. Now, this is the trip that Mike Lawler took. You know, he said he went to Israel there, but of course he didn't go to the West Bank, didn't go to Gaza, didn't see the actual human cost in terms of the apartheid, the occupation, the blockade. He went to meet Netanyahu. Here he is, taking a picture with Netanyahu. It's like, and by the way, I think there are some Democrats in this picture too. This is why this is not just a Republican problem. Jamaal Bowman, unfortunately, is an outlier within the Democratic Party. He is somebody who actually understands what is going on, and actually not only just that, because I think a lot of them do, but he actually cares. Jamaal Bowman actually cares. So that is the clear difference there between someone like Jamaal Bowman and someone like Mike Lawler. But these trips are funded by far right-wing groups that are associated with the Israeli government. And again, do not conflate the Israeli government with Jewish people. Those are two very separate things. And conflating the two is in itself anti-Semitic. You cannot claim the Israeli government stands for all Jewish people. That is ridiculous. We're talking about a government here. So these government-sponsored trips, these right-wing government-sponsored trips that these congresspeople are taking on, are done so to feed them propaganda. They're given a very certain perspective on what is going on, and of course, not given the full context. You even have here, like, Israelis know how shitty Netanyahu is. They want him gone. Most Israelis do not like Benjamin Netanyahu. He is often referred to as the Trump of Israel. The guy is completely nuts. And you look at stuff like this, you understand why. From New York Times here. This is from recently, I believe. November 30th. Israel knew Hamas's attack plan more than a year ago. So they were aware of this plan more than a year ago. And there's a lot, by the way, you can look this up. I'll link to this below the video, but there's a lot of reporting about this, that the Israeli government was very aware that something was coming. And they even knew the day when it was coming. And they did nothing. So, you know, I could give my opinion on why I think that is. Personally, based on if you know a lot about Netanyahu and how he has helped to prop up Hamas as a way to divide Palestinians and ensure there is not any two-state or any solution at all to the problem, then it would only make sense that he would use this as a jumping-off point to launch a greater attack on Gaza. So why would he get involved if this is his ultimate plan? But again, that's my opinion. Based on, like, why else? Why else would they completely ignore that this attack was coming? Why else would they not do anything about this? Why else wouldn't they, at the very least, get people out of there where they knew the attack was going to happen? They didn't do any of that. So, I don't know. We can all, you know, it's impossible for us to know why they didn't do anything, but you can speculate. Now, in terms of the, you know, Jamaal Bowman brings up a lot there. The ongoing settlements, the occupation. This is from Al Jazeera here, mapping the Israeli occupation. So according to Human Rights Watch, Israel is committing, quote, crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution. And by the way, that's also backed up by Amnesty International, which I'll get to in a second here, as well as the UN, like international bodies, whether human rights oriented or just the UN. They understand what is happening, and they have called for restraint from the Israeli government, and they have not been met with restraint. They just keep doing what they're doing. So this is, right here's the West Bank, right there's Gaza, and the ongoing settlements have slowly but surely taken land away from Palestinians, more and more land. And you have here 50 years of settlements. This is from Amnesty International. So this article, I believe, is a bit out of date, so this is 2017, but at this point, it was 600,000 plus Jewish Israeli settlers living on occupied Palestinian land, 100,000 plus hectares of land appropriated by Israel from Palestinians since 1967, 50,000 homes and structures demolished by Israel, and 4.9 plus million Palestinians facing daily restrictions on their movement. There is a whole, if you aren't aware yet, you watch more videos, don't even watch watch any video on the Israeli occupation. Understand the military rule that Palestinians are living under and the different sets of rights, whether you are Palestinian or Israeli. It is clear apartheid. So for that to not be addressed in any of this, for that to not clearly be the heart of the issue here, I mean, if you're denying that, then you're just denying reality, which, you know, I guess would be normal for a Republican like Mike Lawler. But I'm getting worked up here again because every time I discuss this, it is so clear, and I feel like this is not a debate. There is no debate to be had. It is very clear. The facts are very clear. The human rights organizations, whether Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, B'Tselem, which is based in Israel, or groups like Jewish Voice for Peace, Independent Jewish Voices, various groups have spoken up against the apartheid, far right-wing Israeli government. There is no debate. There is no discussion to be had, but it's good to have people like Jamaal Bowman on platforms like CNN discussing this in a way that I think communicates it effectively and does it with passion.